And we have a couple on the agenda tonight. The first one, if I could have Dawn Myers step forward along with Mr. Schurz. And with the holidays comes high stress. Situations for some students. Dawn has put a lot of time working with our students to help them through their social and emotional concerns. Dawn has also been flexible in assisting the middle school with their transition back to in-person learning while their social worker is out of the office. So we commend Dawn Myers for that job well done. If we could have a round of applause, please. All right, next up is Natalie Shale, Wendy Miller, and Mindy Grybos. There you go, sir. Yep. The SMS special education team did an outstanding job responding. Oh, Mr. Hopke, can you come forward? Thank you. The SMS special education team did an outstanding job responding to the evacuation of students and the subsequent learning of students with disabilities during virtual learning, as well as in-person learning at the high school. They were able to problem solve during adverse conditions, manage student learning and behaviors, and effectively manage paraprofessional support in all settings. They supported each other, maintained a positive outlook for students, even when they were discouraged, and supported students who were struggling with environmental changes. They are a great credit to themselves and to the Spooner Area School District. Could I have a round of applause, please? All right. And then next up is Josie McShane and Mr. Berghammer. Please come forward. Josie does an amazing job at SES. There have been many different things needing her attention so far this year, and she has responded wonderfully. She has built very good relationships with students, and they are very comfortable coming to see her. Our students and families have a variety of needs, and Josie is very well organized and does her best to meet all their needs. She also communicates very well with our staff and has a great relationship with them. She is a very big asset in our building, and we appreciate all she does. Could I have a round of applause, please? All right, thank you, everyone. All right. And we're moving on to item B, which is the referendum project update. So we have a written update from Mr. Kunkel that was shown late in the game this afternoon. Has everyone had a chance to look that over? No. Okay. So I printed. Would you like to
send me questions?
Okay. Okay. Any questions that you may have regarding that update, that written update that we received from Mr. Kunkel? If you would direct all of your questions to Dr. Aslan, he will get them answered for you. Okay. All right, so we are going to receive and replace that information on file this evening. Now we're moving on to item C, which is the Europe Trip 2022 presentation. Mrs. Nelson, and as the board members know, we have already approved this trip. Mrs. Nelson is just giving us kind of a little bit of an overview as to just so we get a little idea, seeing that it's been such a long time. Mr. Miller? Oh, you can go up to the laptop there. Yes, there you go.
I'm just waiting here.
No drama.
Okay, so as you know, we were planning to go to Europe 2 years ago, but because of COVID, twice. So we are hoping that this summer to go. The trip is to go to Europe, and we are going to be 11 days. Right here is our itinerary. We are going to Europe, Florence, Verona, Tyrol, Munich, Prague, and back home. That is days. Right here, those are the countries that we're visiting. And Rome, Florence, Prague are the countries. Right here, we're visiting with students It will. The safety on the tour, EF provides a group with a lot of different important things for our group. We have a tour guide, tour director. There's a lot of safety and incident response team. They, because COVID, they have improved their safety precautions, and we have like one chaperone per 6 travelers enrolled, and they support our safety. Right now, because COVID, EF COVID care. That one is most COVID. If someone procedures also, so everybody. Right now, there's a lot. Procedures. Place. We just have. But we found. We are basically planning, the trip is for 11 days. We were asked the earliest departure date. Do that. They are going to group. So they asked us. We will know more April. Earliest that we will be departing. We will be. And right now we have 21 travelers, 3 chaperones, 5 adults. What we know.
Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Nelson? No? Okay. Thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it. And we will receive and place that information on file as well. So we're moving on to item D, which is intent to submit the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant application for the middle school. Mrs. Collins.
Thank you. Question? Deadline in place. Do have double grant.
Is there any questions for Mrs. Collins with any of the information she's provided thus far? Yes.
Yep, this is the 5th year of the grant. We're applying that.
Okay. All right. And you will be able to meet that deadline, I'm assuming?
We're shooting for that.
Okay.
We want to get it to the grant by.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. All right. We will receive and place that information on file as well. So we're moving on to item E, which is discuss the 2022-23 school calendar. Dr. Aslan?
So last year, we used a process that I think was inclusive and pretty efficient, and that was the administration put a skeleton of a school calendar together, and then it went back out into the buildings for feedback. We'd look to follow that process again this year with your permission, so this would be an item that we'd look, see if there's consensus to move that forward to the regular board meeting, where then the administration would be directed to begin work.
Begin work on the calendar. Okay. Is there any questions regarding that process? Okay. Do we have consensus to move that to the regular board meeting? Yes? Okay. All right. And we're moving on to item F, which is discuss the employee handbook committee. Dr. Aslan as well.
Yep, so last year we did not convene the employee handbook committee due to COVID. And we had indicated when that decision was made that we'd look to do it this year if possible. I think health conditions in the district allow for that at this time. So we'd look for you to see if there's consensus to move this to the regular board meeting. At that board meeting, you would give the order to form the employee handbook committee.
Any questions regarding that process? Okay, do we have consensus to move that to the regular board meeting?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
Is she online?
Okay, so we're gonna hop around just a minute here. We're gonna move to the item H, which is discuss the early graduation for the class of 2022. So Dawn or Dennis, which Mrs. Myers or Mr. Schurz? Okay. Thank you very much.
Have applied for early graduation, provided they meet all of their graduation requirements over the course of either term 2. Some are applying for term 3 as well. So we would like to grant them that early graduation.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions regarding early graduation?
Is there a reason why we even have to do
We're
this?
receiving and placing this information on file, just so that we're aware of the students that are applying for this. But yes, that is why,
It's not like we can tell the student, no, we're not going to
no,
approve it.
no. So we're just receiving this information on file. It is great that these students are applying for this early graduation and that they can do this. So she's just making us aware of the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right? All right, thank you.
It's not like we have to approve it.
No, not at all. All right.
So Wendy is.
Okay,
on,
so, all right.
Mr. Miller to help us out.
Okay,
here.
so we're going to move to welcome back Wendy from CISA 6 for the presentation. So Mr. Miller, if you can help us out with that. Sorry about the little confusion this evening with the items.
Yeah, Wendy, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
The wonders of technology. Are you ready for me to start?
We are ready for you to start. Welcome. Thank you for coming in on our meeting this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Can everybody see my screen?
We can.
Yes. All right, well, thank you so much for inviting me to share what the mid-year overview entails in the DAPES process. I'd like to start by saying Happy New Year, and on behalf of the entire growth and development team at CISA 6, we want to thank you for all you're doing in this yet another interesting school year. We appreciate your service and that you make time to provide quality feedback to David, your district administrator. So we thank you for that. And then just another quick reminder that the DAPES process does allow you to meet all of the statute requirements around evaluation for administrators, including district administrators. So all the facts are right here and you're doing great work. And I know you're all aware of this, but we always like to point out that the DAPE system, just like all the other EP systems, are aligned to standards. So the work prior to tonight's meeting, you have completed the first two steps in the process, which were understanding the process, and then David taking time to take a self-assessment and set some goals that he shared with you that might align with areas he wants to grow or strategic areas that will move the district forward. So tonight, we're talking about discussing some of the evidence that he has collected to this point. So when you get to the progress monitoring, that is the purpose of it. So that is where you're headed after we chat this evening. And I'd just like to remind the school board that the purpose of progress monitoring is to ensure that you have a preponderance of evidence to review when you get to the final summative evaluation. And so all of the work that David's doing, the goals with the success indicators, any potential documents or artifacts he might link, will pour in here through the funnel, and that will come out during the summative review, giving David a summative score. So there is a timeline that we included in the new DAPES process, which helps a school board move along. And if you'll notice over to the left, we chunked it out in quarters. That doesn't always work for every school board, so you of course want to do what's best for you in Spooner. You've completed the planning phase earlier in the year with David. Tonight, we're talking about the progress monitoring, and in just a minute, I'll show you that form. And that's really the study and the act part of the phase. So that's where you're at this point. And we like to point out to school boards that in the new revised process, we thought more conscientiously about that continuous improvement process that schools work on with their entire staff. And we built that plan, do, study, act cycle right into the system. So if you look at it, we planned first quarter, doing and studying second and third quarter, and acting if the board and David agreed that any changes need to be made before we get to that summative process. So that PDSA cycle allows for constant feedback to ensure that the board and David are all heading in the right direction. And at the end of the cycle, the board doesn't throw something out there that David wasn't anticipating, or David doesn't recommend changes you weren't aware of based on his work. So really, that's what the progress monitoring form do, and that will feed right into the summative report. So the work you're doing when you get to that phase is to allow you to have a complete summative report. So I'm going to click right now on the progress monitoring form, but before I do that, I just want to let you know the
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. And then, like I said, you will move into a summative report later in the year, which will have all the information from the goal setting phase, progress monitoring phase, and then at that time is when you will look at any other artifacts that were added, and you will rate David around his performance around those 6 standards. I do want to point out that some goals don't And then my final sentence, and to let you know that the CISA 6 Growth and Development Team will be at WASB conference later this month if you're attending. And we have a great photo opportunity for the board. So if you're in and around, stop by. We're way in the back of the convention center hall, and we'd love to see all of you in person. We will be masked and vaccinated because that just came out that that's a necessary expectation. So we will be there representing CISA and would love to see you. So any questions?
Does any of us have any questions at this time? Okay. Nope, we look forward to the next step in this process. Will we be receiving information regarding this presentation this evening? Yes, if we could receive some information regarding your presentation this evening so that we can look it over as well after the meeting, that would be great. So,
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will share it with David and he can
Perfect.
forward it all to all of you.
Great.
So thank you for allowing me to take some time during your meeting, and I will close out so that you can carry on with business.
all right, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we are going to receive and place this information on file, and then again, you will all be receiving this information so that if you have any additional questions, we can get those answered. All right. Okay, so now we're going to flip-flop again here, and we're going to move to item G, which is discuss the Neola policy volume 30 updates. So weren't as many, and this is the third group, weren't as many this time as there was the last 2 times. But does anyone have any questions regarding those policies and information? Nope, okay.
I
Oh,
have a
you do?
question
Okay.
on policy 8510.
Okay,
So this smart snacks, there's a line in there that's new that says food offered, provided, but not sold. All foods offered on the school campus shall meet or exceed the USDA smart snacks and school nutrition standards. including those provided at celebrations and parties and classroom snacks brought by staff or family members. So my question is, does that mean it's got to be all healthy? Does that mean we no longer can bring donuts and ice cream and everything nice or not nice?
We just, like everything in moderation here, gotta have some of the healthy stuff, and we know that, particularly when we're having, celebrations in the classroom or birthday parties or things like that. So, really, this is, although it's new in Neola, it's a practice that we've been under for at least a handful of years. Having, food that may be sold through fundraisers or things of that nature, having to meet certain requirements if it would be in, if it would be consumed during the school.
So like for, let's say, a Christmas party or a holiday party, it would need all to be healthy or?
No, moderation.
Moderation.
All right.
Moderation.
Some healthy food, yeah, good
Some
to have.
people may not like a cupcake, but
No,
others
that's
would.
great.
Good to have healthy offerings, but, I don't think that we would look to, slam the door on foods that, proven to be favorites of kids.
Excellent. And then on the way down, it's physical activity. So if there's two items there. It says physical activity and movement shall be integrated when possible across the curricula and throughout the school day. So that used to be under physical education. So my question is, why are we removing that from the physical education portion, or if you could explain that aspect?
Well, it falls under the more broad umbrella of wellness across the board. So we look at physical education. We also look at things like outdoor recess activities, physical activities that might happen as part of other curricular areas, such as movement and music, things of that nature.
So we'll still continue at a physical education and continue that. We're just trying to bring wellness to other areas of the
Right,
curriculum.
just really, trying to broaden that wellness approach. Certainly doesn't just fall on the shoulders of the Phy Ed department or the food service department. Wellness is a across the board responsibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Melton? You have any other? Okay.
Nope, I'd ask them if I got them.
Oh, I'm sure you would. Okay, so, so if you have any further questions, can we move this to consensus to move this to the regular board meeting for the first reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. All right, now we're moving to item I, which is discuss open enrollment seats for 22-23. Mr. Hopke.
Right. Well, good evening. Get started here. Just to talk about open enrollment requirements. Just know that annually we need to bring that to the school board for discussion and provide those numbers. And all of this is projected on our current enrollment and staffing, not necessarily our physical location. Okay. So taking a look at it, first what we looked at was the elementary school and the different grade levels, the number of sections that we currently have. I don't know that the fourth grade, it's truly is 3 sections. I apologize on that. But going across, all of the projections are based on current grade capacity for the students moving up to those grade levels, the projected size, as well as the open enrollment seats based on the capacity. So what we'd be looking at is truly keeping our 5K through 3 at lower levels based on our AGR, which is the academic growth, I forget the acronym now, but anyway, it's, part of it is keeping those class sizes lower.
Achievement gap reduction.
Thank you very much. I don't know, it was slipping me there for a second. I appreciate that. So, but then fourth grade, that doesn't take into account there, and we're currently at 3 sections, and that's where our projection is for our open enrollment seats, for 5 there, 13 at third grade, 13 at second grade, second at first, so on. Any questions so far on the elementary building?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Regarding the 4K, you have 3 sections. We currently have 3 sections, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And with our new addition, we're still going to have only 3 sections? We're not gaining a section or anything?
Right now, we're just projecting this off from our current, and
Okay.
on our current enrollment and our current staffing.
So would that change when the addition is done?
There's a potential for changing. We have to base that off from our numbers here, so
Okay, but our numbers couldn't change, though.
they could change.
Well, they could change.
Yeah, they could change.
We're not locked into these numbers.
The open enrollment numbers in and of themselves, yes, we would lock into that.
All right.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
All right. All right. Moving on to the middle school. All right, for the middle school with the 4 grades there, currently what we have is 3 sections in 5th grade and then 4 sections in the other remaining grades. We look at the capacity of 25 students per section, and that gives us our totals for open enrollment seats. Any questions? Okay. And then moving on to the high school, based on the core class capacity and the staffing, we would project no seats at this time. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So now this gets into the overall seats for open enrollment. That includes all students. And what I'm going to show you now is just going into the special education, what we can handle capacity-wise based on those open enrollment numbers. Okay. So just this is just information as far as recommendations for caseloads, and caseloads are developed through a formula. It's not by kid, but it's by the services of the kid. So the more services that a kid or a student receives, the higher that factor number is, and that's how we figure out our caseloads. Okay. So moving on to what we were taking a look at for our caseloads in the different levels. We wouldn't look at any open enrollment seats for our 4K or early childhood. They seem to come out of the woodwork, so we just want to remain there. At elementary, it'd be 19.5 seats. Once again, that's figured out through a factor. Middle school, we're pretty much at capacity for our open enrollment of special ed students at the middle school. And then the high school, it has room in the special ed department, but once again, no open enrollment across the board at the high school. Okay. Any other question or any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I thought I had read that on DPI, that special education they could not be restricted by IEP standards and stuff like that. I was just wondering, so how does that actually become applicable by, factoring caseloads and stuff?
Check. So with open enrollment students in special education, we can accept them as long as it doesn't provide undue burden on the district. I.e., if we already provide the services that those students receive and we have the space available, we can accept those students. However, if it provides an undue burden on the district, and if it's a service that we don't currently provide, we can deny based on that. I don't know if that's answering your question.
Yeah, it is. I just interpreted it differently, I think, than that,
Okay.
basically no discrimination was no discrimination.
Check. That's correct. Oh.
So Pete, with the high school, we've heard about declining numbers.
Check.
So if that's the case, but we don't have open enrollment, how do we balance that so that we're able to grow with the enrollment numbers?
Yeah. So I will say that based right now on our current projections with the high school, it's not that case. Can that be the case in the future as our numbers go down? that will be the case. And once again, we'll come back to this next year, and we'll discuss those open enrollment numbers.
No, that answers the question. Thank you.
So,
Does anyone have any other questions so far? Okay.
is it.
Yep, I think
Okay.
you can move on.
I
Like?
am done with my presentation.
Oh, okay. So there's no further questions? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Hopke.
Thank you.
And we're going to receive and place this information on file.
Consensus to the regular board
I'm sorry.
meeting for adoption.
I'm sorry. I need consensus to move this to the regular board meeting for adoption, please.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Apologize for that. All right, now we're moving on to item J, which is discuss the RFP for the HVAC maintenance. Dr. Aslan?
So we are entering the final handful of months of our contract for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, district-wide, and it's with the Jamar Company. And we will need to go put that out for a request for proposal and see what kind of bids we get for that. So, yeah, just share that bit of information with you tonight and ask that you would consider reaching consensus to move that forward to the regular board meeting to authorize us to put that request for proposal out.
Okay, is there any further questions regarding that? Okay, do we have consensus to move to this, to the regular board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, yes. All right, and then we're moving on to item L, which is discuss the RFP for audit services.
So very similar to the HVAC RFP request, look for authorization to go out for request for proposal for audit services. You'll recall that we tried that recently and unfortunately did not have anyone that submitted a proposal. So we would like to put that out again and see if we can get some proposals. We know that we really do need to take a look at other entities that may be out there and may be interested in serving as our district auditor as we look to streamline that process and get more timely information back on the financial health of our district. So again, this would be one that we'd ask that you come to consensus to move forward to the board.
Mrs. Jepson and Mr. Johnson both have a question.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Who is our current auditor?
Yeah, Clifton Allen Larson.
The fact that nobody's shown interest, we sweeten the pot by making it like a 2 or 3 year deal. Do you think that would attract more people?
Yeah, so it would be a multi-year contract in probably any scenario, and it would also be, that would be part of what would come back to us in the form of a proposal, what kind of term that they were interested in engaging the district in.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have consensus to move this to the regular board meeting?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Great, thank you. All right, now we're moving to item M, which is discuss the full-time SMS paraprofessional position proposal. Mr. Hopke, you're a busy man tonight.
That's all right. Keeps me moving, so that's all right. All right. So, just want to kind of bring you back for the current year and the situations that we've been dealing with at the middle school. Current positions, we've got 3 full-time positions and 2 part-time at the middle school. What we have is 5 out of the 6 are currently filled, and I think I brought at least 2 individuals to you guys for approval and hiring, and we're still back to the same state. So we still have that vacancy that's left open. And we've had this posted for well over a month and no takers. And I know that the need there is, they've got need at the middle school. Is this ideal for creating a full-time position for the remainder of the year? No. simply because it doesn't provide that additional body during the higher levels of activity during the day. But trying to get additional coverage for those staffing needs, okay? So, anyway, so what I was proposing here is moving one of our part-time paraprofessional positions to a full-time, one of our part-time positions, rather, and that would only be for the remainder of the year, hoping to re-engage the hiring process and fill those part-time positions later on. And I'm also taking a look at the current budget for staffing for special ed to see what we can cover for next year as well. But I definitely want to fill this for the remainder of the year. Okay? And then that rationale, once again, just provide that additional coverage and the inability to really find someone that's suitable for that position right now. So,
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hopke?
Would that person that's a part-timer now take that full-time position for the balance of this year?
so just reviewing things, I would have that internally posted for those, and host the interviews for the current people in those positions, because it's more than one part-time person there, so.
But that position as a full-time position will be eliminated at the end of the year. We'd have to come back and redo it for next year if that were to be full-time again.
I would reassess this at the end of the year and coming back to you with that staffing, yes.
Would,
So it's like an LTE thing.
It is an LTE, so I would look at re-engaging those part-time positions again, but once again, assessing where we're at and see if I can cover stuff.
so I have a question.
Yeah.
If one of those part-time people would take that full-time position, would they be able to come back again as part-time next year? Or maybe possibly, depending on the budget and the need, be able to engage into a full-time position in the next year?
That's what I'd be hoping to do,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
yeah, I would.
Lose their job.
They wouldn't just lose
No.
their job after
No, no,
this
no,
year,
no.
they'd
No,
go back
no,
to
no,
being
no.
a
No,
part-time?
It would, if anything, it would go back to its original state.
Okay, okay, that was my question.
So it wouldn't be a reduction of a position.
Okay.
Would that person be getting full-time benefits for the balance of this year then? Or
It would, yes. And I had to take that into consideration with budgeting, so, yeah.
Okay. Any further questions? So we're looking to consensus to move this to the regular board meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for approval then.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, yes, okay, thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to item N, which is the 30, 60, 90-day planning cycle. And of course, I'm assuming all of you, and I shouldn't assume, but has everyone looked at the 30, 60, 90-day planning cycle? And does anyone have any questions regarding any of that information? Okay, then we're going to receive and place that on file. And then we're moving on to item O, which is the financial update. Dr. Aslan?
This is the financial update, and again, with our 2-month lag, this is for November 2021. So the beginning checking account balance was $1,661,061.29. The vast majority of money received during the month came from DPI food service claims. Total income for the month, $85,430.34. Looking down at expenditures for the month, $1,410,804.34. Cash on hand on November 30th was $335,687.29.
Is there any questions?
Yes. Do you know where the general cash balance of 11/30/21 compares to 11/2020?
I do not know that off the top of my head, Mr. Melton. I can get it from Mrs. Vasquez and have her provide you with that information.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, we're going to receive and place this information on file. And item P is the approval of the vouchers. Any questions regarding those? Okay, then do I have consensus to move this to the regular board meeting as part of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, then. Moving on to item 3, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.